There's a particular kind of silence that follows you everywhere. Not the peaceful kind that comes with choosing to be alone, but the heavy kind that settles in your chest when you realize your phone hasn't buzzed with a real message in weeks. It's the silence of walking through crowded spaces and feeling completely invisible, of having thoughts you want to share, but no one to share them with, of celebrating small victories alone and carrying disappointments in isolation. For millions of people, this isn't a preference. It's not being antisocial. It's a reality they never meant to end up in. The psychology behind having no friends is far more complex than they just like being alone. It's a web of past experiences, learned behaviors, and protective mechanisms that once kept them safe, but now keep them stuck. When researchers study social isolation, they've found something striking. The brain of someone who's been alone for a long time doesn't just miss connection, it actually starts to change. Neural pathways involved in social skills and reading people can weaken from lack of use. The parts of the brain that help us interpret facial expressions or social cues become less active. It's not weakness, it's neuroplasticity. The brain adapting to an environment where connection rarely happens. But how does someone end up here? It almost never happens overnight. It often starts with small wounds, being excluded as a child, a friend who betrayed a secret, a group that slowly drifted away without explanation. Each experience teaches the brain something. That vulnerability equals pain, trust equals disappointment, openness equals rejection. So the brain does what it's designed to do. It protects. It says, share less, expect less, don't get your hopes up. Not as a conscious decision, but as an automatic survival strategy. Over time, those strategies turn into invisible walls. They begin to read neutral behavior as rejection, a delayed text, a canceled plan, a distracted tone. Kindness feels suspicious. They assume people are just being polite, and the more they expect rejection, the more anxious and guarded they become, often in ways that quietly push people away. When external conversation disappears, internal conversation gets loud. People without friends often develop a rich, intense inner world. They replay past interactions over and over, analyzing every word and expression. They rehearse conversations that might never happen. They imagine the friendships they wish they had. That inner world becomes both refuge and prison, a place where they can be fully themselves without judgment, but also a place where thoughts spiral unchecked by outside perspectives. Ironically, many people with no friends have strong emotional intelligence. They watch others from the outside. They notice when a smile doesn't reach the eyes, when group energy shifts, when someone is being performative instead of genuine. That awareness is a gift, but also a curse, because when you see through fake friendliness, it becomes harder to accept anything less than truly authentic connection. An authentic connection requires vulnerability from both sides, but vulnerability feels terrifying when you've been hurt before. So they wait. They wait for someone who feels safe enough to open up to, someone who shows real interest, not just social obligation, someone who can handle their depth instead of being overwhelmed by it. But while they're waiting for that perfect connection, they can come across as distant, cold, or uninterested, which blocks even potentially good friendships from ever forming. Without friends to reflect their good qualities back to them, self-image starts to warp. They focus on their flaws and minimize their strengths. They convince themselves they have nothing to offer. So when someone does show interest, it feels unbelievable. They must want something. They're just being nice. They'll leave once they see what I'm really like. That skepticism was once a shield. Now it quietly sabotages chances for real connection. And here's the painful paradox. People without friends often crave connection more intensely than anyone else. They don't want surface-level attention. They want the kind of friendship where silence is comfortable, where they're deeply known and accepted. But because they crave depth, they sometimes dismiss small casual interactions, the very ones that, with time, could grow into the deep bonds they long for. Solitude then becomes complicated. They've learned how to be alone. They build rich inner lives, creative interests, and routines. In some ways, they know themselves more deeply than most people ever will. But the longer they stay isolated, the more foreign social interaction feels. What used to be natural now feels like a performance. They second-guess every response. They overthink timing, tone, and body language. Social skills they once had feel rusty, which makes them more anxious, which makes interactions feel awkward, which convinces them they're bad with people. A painful loop forms. They need practice with connection to feel better at it, but they feel too unpracticed and ashamed to seek connection in the first place. On top of that, society isn't kind to friendlessness. We're expected to have people to call, people to bring to events, people to vouch for who we are. So many learn to hide their lack of friends. They make excuses, decline invitations, and avoid conversations about their social lives. All of this hiding creates even more distance from the authentic connection they want. Then there's social media. Endless photos of trips, parties, inside jokes, and group selfies. It can feel like watching life happen to everyone else. Online spaces can offer some relief. Anonymous communities, group chats, gaming, places where they can connect without being seen. But those digital ties can also highlight how empty their offline world feels. And yet, in the middle of all this loneliness, something important often forms. A deep, hard-won self-knowledge. Without constant external validation, they're forced to figure out who they are on their own terms. They explore what they truly like, how they really think, what actually matters to them. Separate from trends or friend groups. They may struggle to connect, but they often understand human nature with an honesty and clarity that is rare. The psychology of having no friends doesn't reveal a group of people who are broken. It reveals what happens when sensitive, observant, deeply feeling humans are shaped by pain, exclusion, and disappointment, and then build defenses that accidentally keep love out. Isolation isn't a character flaw. In many cases, it's the side effect of a nervous system that tried to protect them. If you see yourself in this, remember this: your depth, your sensitivity, your insight and self-awareness. These are not the reasons you don't have friends. They are the reasons the right people will be lucky to know you once you feel safe enough to let them in.